Welcome to chapter number 6. In this chapter, we are going to talk about working with layers in After Effects. If you follow me along in the chapter number 6 folder, you can find the project file. Go ahead and open that file. Basically, After Effects have layer-based system in timeline. Layer can be anything, your external media file or any internal After Effects generated layer. If you make any layer after making the composition, so it has same length as composition have. For example, let me make a new solid here and then hit OK. And let me drag it. So you can see this solid have the same length that we have for our composition. Let me undo the last section. If you make any layer, you can duplicate, trim and extend the layers anytime by selecting from here. You can apply the effects to the layer and you can change the blending modes also. For example, if we want to change the blending mode from this, so we can do this. Also, you can use the mask for the values layer. Here is the masking option. Layers are responsible for animation inside After Effects. You can make animation by compositing layers. So let me show you what I mean. Since we have this nice background, so let me import my logo, open the composition, and now we have logo life in straight. Let me quickly drag it to the layer panel. Boom, now we have. Let me open the scale property for this and let me bring it down. That's look good. Here we go. From here, I want to grow this logo. So since I have already opened the scale property, let me make a keyframe for here. And all the way end, let me type 90. So we have 10% scale from this keyframe to this keyframe. So let's take a ramp preview. Here we go. So every layer have own properties. Every layer contain transform property at last. If you click on this little arrow, so you can find the transform properties inside this layer. So let me open the transform properties for a moment. Now we have the scale property here that we applied before. You can open these options by pressing the shortkeys. Like if you want to open the rotation property, you need to press the R key. If you open the scale, you need to press the S key. If you want to open the opacity option, you need to press the T key. So there is some shortcuts to open this, but for now, let me focus on this section. Okay, so the important thing is this anchor point. For exploring this anchor point, let me quickly open to the background pre-composition. Okay, now if I select my pink flower layer, you can see this target icon. This is the anchor point of this image. Anchor points set automatically in the center of any layer. For example, let me make a box quickly from here. Here we go. And let me change the outline color to white. Here we go. Now if I open the R key for the rotation and I start moving this number, you can see this box start moving around this anchor point. In some cases, in some 3D applications, people call this normal point. But in After Effects, we call this anchor point. Any action that you apply to this layer will be responsible from this anchor point. For example, let me press the Y key to open my pen behind tool or move anchor point tool, and let me select this anchor point and move it somewhere. Here we go. Now if I start moving the rotation, you can see this box start moving around this anchor point. So let me quickly undo these last options and let's delete this one. Okay, let me duplicate this background by pressing the Ctrl D from the keyboard and put top of this file. And now if I go to the ellipse tool from here and let me double click it here. So we have this kind of mask around this solid. So let me quickly change subtract from here. And now if I open this background layer, we have two kind of property. One is transform and one is mask, because we have added a mask in this solid. So if I open the mask from here and let me open this mask properties as well. So we have these different options. This is the path of this mask. This is the feather option, opacity, and some other options. So let me focus on this mask feather option and extend it something like this. Here we go. And let me change the blend mode to the multiply. So we have a nice vintage option around this scene. Okay, let's take a ramp preview. Okay, let's make it something interesting by importing our elements from the assets folder. In the assets folder, if you open the sequence, you have this optical flare. Let me drag it here. Here we go. And let's change the blending mode to add. So we have a nice moving optical flare at the top of this logo. Here we go. And if you click on this little button that say toggle switches between mode, now we are on the modes. If we click it here, now we are moving to the switches. Switches are really interesting in After Effects composition. You can hide the layers, you can see which layer have some effects, you can turn on the motion blur, you can make them 3D, you can parent to the other layers, and it's really helpful. You can also select the layers and then reorder them like in Photoshop. And by reordering them, you can see a big difference. Anytime you can select any layer and then reorder them. Something like this. And if you want to apply the effects on the layer, you need to select the layer, then you need to go to the effects and you need to apply any effect that you're looking for. For example, let me apply fill effect. And let's change to the white. Here we go. And now if I go to the effect and preset panel, I can also find the effects by typing their name. For example, drop shadow. Boom, we have drop shadow, and let's apply to the logo life in street composition. Now if you can see, we have a nice drop shadow. You can also add some softness to this drop shadow like this. Here we go. Now it looks good. Let's take a ramp preview. And if I open the scale property for this logo, and let's select this first keyframe, right click, keyframe assistant and easy ease. Let's take a ramp preview now. Here we go. In the next chapter, we are going to talk about how you can create animations inside Adobe After Effects.